Christ started, as we all know, with Alison back in 1995. I mean, the work of Christ started really a couple of years earlier when she held her first screening. But this was followed a year or so later. We're not quite sure. I have a discussion whether it was 96, 97. But definitely, this is taken from one of his first publications. And I think, there were two, I think, at the time. One was Young Sudden Death, Fact or Fiction, and this one was about echocardiography, I believe. But this was around the time of Christ's first screening and the first publications in young sudden cardiac death. And then in 2005, we've been doing some excellent work with screening, and in 2005 we identified that for CRI to take that next stage, we needed to have our own doctors who would be working under the experts, under the specialists, under Professor Sharma. And our first fellow that we appointed was Dr. Jayesh Markan. And at the time we were screening probably less than 1,000 people a year, and we probably tested in total about 5,000 people. We used to screen quite differently then. For some of you who go way back, it was always much more, it was always ECG and echo for everyone. So the numbers were much smaller in those early years, but this was when we started doing more ECG-orientated screening. And then in 2008, we launched the CRI Centre for Cardiac Pathology with Mary Shepherd. And today, we've funded over 30 doctors. I believe it's 31 doctors, some of which are still in training. We're publishing more than 30 publications a year, about 185 publications to date. Screening this year, we'll screen more than 30,000 young people, and in total is moving up to 200,000 young people we've now tested. So this is the change in what is relatively a short period of time around young sudden death. Now, from the research perspective, I think it's fair, we're known much better as an organisation in the UK that raises awareness, that provides support services, and we screen young individuals, but we're much less known as a research organisation. Yet internationally, that's what our reputation is. And how does it start? It starts with research grants, and those are here at St George's Hospital at the university. And we have the pathology grant, and Professor Mary Shepherd will be talking about the work at the CRI Centre. These are for coroner referrals, the work we do, and that's one of the grants that we fund. And then we have our cardiology, NHS referrals, which we're funding, and at the CRI Centre for Inherited Cardiac Conditions and the Centre for Sports Cardiology. And the CRI screening programme, Test My Heart, that many of you are already familiar with. And these two areas, the cardiology and the screening, these are primarily driven by our research fellowship grants, the 9 fellows that we are currently funding at St George's, and Jayesh Markan and the 30 plus fellows we've been funding now over the years, the last 10, 15 years. But what happens from each of these 3 areas? These are really, we're providing services. This is the fast-track pathology service, the fast-track one-stop shop for the cardiology referrals and the CRI screening program out in the community. And yes, these are services that we are providing to young people, families after a sudden death, young people identified with conditions, but they all lead to research publications, to research publications, presenting our data at conferences, sharing the experience of the experts. And that, in turn, is what leads to change, and it's the change in practice of doctors, pathologists, GPs. And that's really what we're trying to achieve today, is a better understanding of that process, focusing on these key areas, as well as our doctors, our research fellows, and as well as talking a bit more about some of the future research which we're trying to take forward.